I recently received my brand new special edition Steelbook of Brian De Palma's Body Double. It's a 4K special edition 40th anniversary version of the 1984 film. And this makes me very happy. While I had seen Carrie and Dressed to Kill and Scarface before I had ever seen Body Double, it was Body Double that made me first sit up and take notice of Brian De Palma, who would ultimately become my favorite director of all time. As far as those other films, believe me, they certainly made an impact. In fact, Carrie was particularly creepy. So creepy that I didn't watch Carrie for decades. Didn't want to see it ever again, really. But I wasn't conscious of who Brian De Palma was at the time. Didn't realize he had directed those films, Scarface, Dressed to Kill, and Carrie, and whatever else. Never even had heard of Blowout at the time. But I was just a kid anyway, back in those days. But anyway, one year in the mid-'80s, I saw Body Double on some premium channel. I want to say HBO, might have been Cinemax. But being an Alfred Hitchcock fan, I found out that it was kind of an homage to Alfred Hitchcock, Body Double was. And sure enough, it's clear that this is an homage to both Rear Window and Vertigo. And yet, it's entirely Brian De Palma's own film as well. Without going into too much detail, it's about a B-movie actor named Jake, played by Craig Wasson, who's down on his luck. So a friend of his, or more of an acquaintance really, named Sam, played by Greg Henry, great character actor, lets him stay at a particularly extravagant house, an elevated house, and also directs Jake to a telescope that's near a window, and he shows him that there's a neighbor who does an erotic dance routine every night like clockwork. Now, Jake ultimately becomes enamored with this female neighbor, and the neighbor is played by the beautiful Deborah Shelton. And his obsession with her leads him down a dark and deadly and very entertaining path, including meeting an adult film star named Holly Body, played by Melanie Griffith, in what many consider her star-making performance. And that's all I want to say, really, about the plot, because I don't want to ruin any of the fun. But what I do want to say is that this film is thrilling, it's sexy, and it's very funny, because De Palma pokes a lot of fun at Hollywood and the male gaze with this movie. And I must say, this film certainly had me seduced and entranced, much like Jake himself in the film. With its stylish flair, hypnotic music by Pino Donaggio, and the controversial subject matter, this is Brian De Palma at his most audacious and his most outrageous. At one point, the film actually breaks into a music video of Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax, which sounds really, really 80s. What a really 80s thing for this film to do, but it totally works in the context of the film. And all the actors are terrific. You know, despite the mixed reviews and the film's initial failure at the box office, all the principal actors are very proud of the film and the work they did in the film. But I wanted to pay special mention for Wasson, because some have suggested that he's kind of the weak link in the film. And many lazy reviewers predictably point out, how much he looks like Bill Maher, for example. Even though very few people knew who Bill Maher was in the early 80s when Wasson had made this film. Wasson is actually a very good actor, an excellent actor, and had made several films even before Body Double, including portraying Mark Twain in a very entertaining adaptation of The Innocents Abroad. And I think it's a disservice to reduce Craig Wasson to some lazy comparison, especially by critics who, forgive me, don't seem to have the mental qualifications to analyze a Brian De Palma film. The fact is, Wasson was cast because Brian De Palma needed a likable dupe as the lead character. Someone who's capable of doing mildly creepy things, things you don't necessarily condone, but you understand his behavior, and his everyman kind of presence makes him sympathetic. Yes, he's weak, and he makes poor choices, but he is a good guy deep down. And you can see that from his performance. His flaws, in fact, are kind of the point of the film. And frankly, you have to ask, would any of us really act differently than Jake if we were in his shoes? I don't know. You should watch and find out for yourself if you've never seen the film. Over these many years, Body Double has gone from guilty pleasure to cult classic, and now many critics list this among De Palma's very best films. And movies like Maxine from Ty West's trilogy have paid homage to Body Double much the same way that De Palma paid tribute to Hitchcock. I've mentioned this before, but Body Double is on my Mount Rushmore of Brian De Palma films. In fact, it's in my top 25 favorite films of all time. So that's why I take great pleasure in seeing the film get the special 4K treatment that it deserves from this Steelbook.